right, guys, welcome to Basic Teen TV. I'm your girl Melissa, and I'm joined by.
I'm Victoria.
Oi, Cindy from Astoria.
No, stop with the accent.
We're Basic Teen TV. I don't know if I said that already. We're a weekly podcast where we talk about some teen TV dramas from the 90s. And the first show we're talking about is Dawson's Creek. And tonight we're going to be talking about Season 3, Episodes 4, 5, and 6. Is that right? Is that what y'all watched? Because that's what I watched.
Yes.
I watched one more, actually.
You did that.
Well,
You've done that before.
No, you shouldn't do that because then you're going to get confused about what to talk about.
Well, we're just going to talk about...
so wrapped up.
Do you?
Sometimes I do.
All right.
There was a lot going on with these, so I got lost.
All right. Well, let's get into it. Here we go. All right. Season 3, Episode 4 was called Home Movies. I don't really know why it was called Home Movies because we barely saw any home movies. We just saw them at the beginning of the show and at the end of the show.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, I barely even remembered this episode. I'm going to let you guys take most of the lead with the storyline here. It just was it was such a yawn fest compared to the last 3 episodes where there were strippers and strip clubs and parties and porn and drugs. And
there were drugs?
I don't think so. I just threw that in there for flair.
I have to be honest. For me personally, I thought these 3 episodes were a snooze fest. I was really bored through all of these, actually.
I thought it got pretty exciting in 5 and 6.
Really?
But... Yeah, there's a little bit of drama that unfolds.
Okay.
I finally get some satisfaction about this girl Eve that's running around. People finally acknowledge the elephant in the room. That is who is this 25-year-old girl pretending to be a high school student, slutting it up with 17-year-old boys?
That's the next episode. That's episode 5.
Okay.
So let's
talk about home movies.
Let's see if we can power through episode 4 then, so we can, get to the juicy stuff that didn't resonate with me.
So Dawson wants to make a news story about Jack being a gay football player.
Yeah, I thought this was gonna turn into a big thing. Of course, everyone in Capeside knows Jack is gay. But I thought Dawson was going to try and sneak this one past Jack and say, oh, no, this is just a story about you, and not tell him that it was going to go on national television. But I guess Jack was made aware that this was about him and being gay and being on the football team and being in high school, and that it was going to go on TV for all to see.
And this is going on his mom's Philly station? I was confused.
That's what he said. He said that his mom, somehow landed him some TV time to do, a human interest piece, I guess.
And his mom works at a local Philadelphia news station.
They kept saying national TV. So, I don't know if... I thought she was working for just a local syndicate in Philly, but at least once or twice someone was like, you're going to put this out on national TV. So I was like, I don't know what national TV shows come out of Philly.
So MSNBC was picking up this local Philly story about a gay guy who plays in the football team in Capeside in a totally different state.
Yeah.
Cool. That makes sense. Yeah, I get that.
Victoria looks confused.
Oh, yeah, I'm just wondering if anybody cares. And if they do, if they would care in a good way. Probably not. I'd be outraged, especially in the South. Some homo is playing football in New England. It's fucking Northerners. I don't know.
Yeah, there would be a lot of that as a reaction. But I think mostly people wouldn't even give a shit because it's a high school football team.
Yeah, but this is 1999. And yes, these kids are in high school. And, I mean, shit, even just like a few years ago in the NFL, maybe more than a few years ago, but like, you know, within the last 10 years, there was like controversy over whether or not NFL players should come out.
Oh, I know it's a controversial topic. But I just think a lot of people might not even care about some rando high school kid. Or, the ones who are terrified of the gays, they might see it as like the start of some terrible, that like the world is coming to an end and God's going to come down and burn everyone, all these homosexuals. They might see that as like a catalyst to something bigger.
Maybe. I don't know.
I could see a lot of diehard Christian whatever thinking that some gay guy's going to ruin football.
Yeah.
For everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Soon they'll be teaching in the schools. Starts out on the football field. Soon enough, they'll be in churches and schools teaching our youth.
So, like, Dawson's dad doesn't want him to do it because he feels it's distracting. I guess this is Mitch's, like, first game of the season, and the Capeside Minutemen are losers. Like, they haven't had a winning season in 3 years, and Mitch is coming on as the new head coach, and this is his first game, and so he just doesn't want Dawson to do this because it's going to distract the team and distract Jack, who is their like star player. But Dawson does it anyways. They have like a weird fight, Dawson and his dad, about Dawson again saying like, I'm the parent. I'm the one who parents you. I'm the one who runs in on you having sex all the time.
I am so glad that you brought this up because it's one of the 3 things I wrote down about this episode.
Okay.
What the fuck is that all about? I parent you, Dad. I walk in on you having sex. And then he said a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
But I guess because Dad's bringing over a lot of broads now that he's single, or what does that mean?
I think he was still just referring to the fact that he would run in on him and his mom, like Mitch and Gail having sex. Because like in season 1, Mitch and Gail were like hypersexual couple. Like they were like getting it on the coffee table and Dawson would walk in, or they were always making out in the kitchen and Dawson would walk in or something. So I mean
that sounds super hypersexual, and I don't know what it's like to grow up in a 2-parent household. My parents got divorced when I was 2. But all the people that I know who had parents that didn't get divorced have witnessed something weird at some point during their childhood.
I'll be honest, I never have, but that's probably because I came around so late. My parents were like considerably older to have such a young child. So I don't know if they were like, they might have been past that phase in their marriage where they were still getting it on. At least like anywhere where I would run in on them. But I like that Mitch said was like, you need to get out of your self-centered, self-righteous drama world. I'm like, yeah, you tell him. That's exactly your son.
Stupid little bitch. Dawson parents them. Ugh.
How does he
just let them bang on the kitchen table if they want to, Dawson?
Hi,
They're
David.
2 consenting adults.
So Dawson goes ahead and like does this thing. He went ahead and like produced it, and he interviewed the opposing team's head coach. And the head coach was like, I don't care if he comes out wearing rouge and lipstick. We're going to whoop some ass.
That's ridiculous.
And Dawson's dad is like, you interviewed the opposing team. Now they know about us. They know about Jack. They're going to be on his ass the whole game, which ends up being true. And they're at the game. I think I'm like moving ahead. We can come back to the other parts of the episode that involve other.
I don't think there were
characters.
other fun parts. This is like it.
Well, there was one other thing that involved Andi, but But so they're at the game, and Dawson and Jen are watching, and the Capeside Minutemen are losing terribly. And Dawson's like, "Is this my fault?" And Jen's like, "Yeah, it's all your fault." So during halftime, when Mitch is in the locker room trying to bring the team together, like Dawson walks in, and he has this idea to like muddy up their jerseys, which I would think the officials would be like, no, you can't do that. Like, that's illegal. And then,
why couldn't you do that?
Because, like, how are the officials supposed to call, like, fouls on people who commit fouls? Like, you have to be able to see their jersey number so they can record it, so they can call it.
Oh, okay.
That's
some of the muddiness was like very carefully placed. Like you could tell the art department or whoever muddied up jerseys because it just looked like a few little paint swishes and then their number is still clearly. And actually, I think I noticed that every single jersey had like the exact same muddied swooshes on it. So like when they got all the jerseys printed, they printed it with a mud mark on there.
Oh,
like
really?
It was a part of the costume design.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't very good. But, sorry, I meant to turn my Slack off, but it's still on. Someone's, like, slacking me. So if you hear little bloop bloops, it's my Slack. So they muddy up the jerseys. And then the other thing they do is they put, like, full, like, clown makeup on all of the football players to like psych out the other team, which I guess it ended up working because...
Was it supposed to be clown makeup or was it supposed to be like woman makeup?
I'm just calling it clown makeup because it was very bad women's makeup. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like they took big kid crayons and just like drew on their faces. Yeah, it was really...
Put on, like, raccoon eyeliner.
Like, balls of blush on their apples of their cheeks and, like, bright red lips. And it's like... And the whole team fell for it. They're like, yeah, we'll do this. This sounds like a good idea.
Actually, a lot of girls in high school had that similar style of makeup when they were first learning how to apply makeup. They all looked not too far off from that.
I don't know about y'all, but my mom like wouldn't allow me to wear makeup until I was like 16. And when I turned 16, she kind of made it a big deal and like took me to a department store. We sat down at like not Clinique, but like another. It was a brand of makeup that she really liked. I can't remember what it's called. But she, like, took me to Neiman Marcus, and we sat down at the counter, and I just got a full makeup tutorial from a professional, and I walked away with, like, all my brand new makeup, and it was the expensive stuff, because it was from Neiman Marcus, and...
I'm so glad that she took you to a Neiman Marcus, at least, and didn't take you to some hodgepodge place in the middle of the mall in Texas. In what year was this?
Let's see, I turned 16 and like, oh God, I'm so bad at math. I don't know.
It was
90s.
In the 90s.
It was in the 90s, yeah.
Can you imagine? You'd come out looking like fucking Dolly Parton or some shit in some kiosk in the mall in Texas with your new makeup.
Another teenager does your makeup for you.
Yeah.
So I turned 16 in like 1997, yeah. Yeah, no, she really wanted me to know how to put on, like, a respectable looking face. Like, nothing, like, crazy, wild, like...
That's good, because some girls, they learn from their stupid idiot
older
15,
sister.
16-year-old friends. Yeah,
their
or like
friends.
their friend's older sister, and they look like prostitutes.
Yeah, we didn't have makeup tutorials on YouTube in the 90s.
True, we didn't. Yeah, we really had to rely on our moms or our... Yeah, friends. Yeah, I think I was lucky because, yeah, I was surprised that she took me there because, I mean, she She could have taught me how to do it. But then again, like she's a lady of the 80s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. So she was probably wearing all the like bright colored, I mean, she still was bright colored eyeshadow and all that stuff.
Well, it's good that she recognized that she should maybe take you to a place current and contemporary. I didn't actually wear makeup until I was in college, and my roommate taught me how to do some makeup, and I thought it was like so subtle. And now I look back at photos of myself, and I was like actually pretty good at doing exactly what she taught me with like the same color palette and eyeliner, blah, blah, blah. But I look back on that and Jesus Christ, it was terrifying. She was like, purple looks really good with your eyes because you have some green in your eyes. So if you wear this neon purple eyeshadow, it'll really bring out the green, the natural green of your eyes. And I was like, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. Because, you know, it's all about enhancing your natural beauty. She actually didn't sound like that at all.
That's how you do all your girl voices.
Mm-hmm.
So the Capeside Minutemen end up winning thanks to Dawson's brilliant plan. And that kind of like set things right with him and his dad a little bit, I guess. And then Jen ends up getting nominated to Homecoming Queen. And she's like, what the fuck? She'd quit the cheerleading squad earlier in the episode. And she was like, what the fuck? How am I Homecoming Queen? She's like, I didn't ask for this. And so that gets more into the next few episodes, I think. The next couple episodes. And then the other thing that was going on was with Andi. And she runs into some dude in a suit. And, like, he drops his stuff that he was carrying. And she drops her books and stuff. And it's like some PSAT police guy.
Yeah. That scene was like a little ridiculous. Yeah, some kind of like educative administrator or something.
Yeah, and then
He like acts all guilty, and then he's like, watch your back, miss.
yeah. Yeah, it was very
Okay, testing police. PSAT investigator.
And then I can't remember if it was the principal or some other teacher who was like, we need to have a meeting. You know, I need you here on Monday morning at this time and we'll go over it. And so Andi...
Oh, yeah, that was the principal who said that.
Okay, so Andi thinks she's caught. Like, she thinks that she's going to get in trouble. So she has this, like, really strange monologue in front of her mirror where she starts crying again about cheating on Pacey and being in a mental health facility and getting her life back on track. And then it turns out to be... What does it turn out to be? I can't even remember now.
Some kind of, like, student-run disciplinary committee that he wanted her to run.
Yeah.
Didn't even make any sense. I was like, what?
Yeah.
The kids give each other detention? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that whole little part of this episode didn't quite make sense. It felt weird.
Yeah, it was weird and it was forced, and Andi is like neurotic as fuck. She's getting worse. She's a real mess.
I was like, you didn't realize she was neurotic as fuck before?
No, she's just, I mean, yes, she is, but just so much.
And then Pacey's bought a boat, like a fixer-upper boat. And then I feel like that's it to the movie. I mean, the show, the episode, right?
Yeah, it sucked. It was garbage.
Right? This is a boring episode. This was really boring. And, like, the only thing... So, like, we see home videos at the beginning of Dawson and Joey meeting for the first time when they're kids. And then at some point in the episode, Dawson hands Joey a VHS tape. I guess he's, like, copied over from 8-tracks? I didn't even think you could record video on 8-tracks.
No, beta?
Oh, beta. Maybe that's it.
No, I don't think you can record video on 8-tracks.
Yeah, I didn't think...
No, well, there's reel-to-reel. It's kind of like I don't know.
I don't know either. Whatever he did, he put some home videos on a VHS tape and gave it to Joey, and that's how the episode ends, with Joey like looking at home videos of them running around the yard and like blowing.
We know as little about 8-tracks and reel-to-reel as we know about Snapchat and Google. I mean, Instagram reels.
Well, I mean,
Google reels.
20-year-olds don't know about VHS tapes, so.
It's true.
Or if they do, it's because it's like vintage and ironic, or I don't know. Nobody has a fucking VCR.
Do you think that'll be a thing again, where people start collecting VCRs to watch VHS tapes, like people buy record players to play records?
It's kind of interesting. Like, how is it that cassette tapes don't, like, you can have a cassette tape sitting around for like 10, 15 years not being played, and you could pop it into your tape deck and it'll play fine. But like VHS tapes, they get dried out and brittle.
I think it's a different type of, it's like the film, it's the quality of the film inside that deteriorates over time, whereas a cassette tape is a totally different
material in there. Yeah, I mean, it's weird because I remember this happened a while ago, but like I tried to put in a VHS tape of like, in my family we had like every single Disney movie on VHS, and I was like, oh, I got nostalgic and I wanted to watch like Sleeping Beauty or something, and I put it into the VHS. We still had a VHS tape player, and I put it in there, and it got stuck. And because it like ripped in half inside the player because it hadn't been played in like God knows how many years.
That's what makes me sad about home movies, because everyone was doing home movies. I mean, my dad has hundreds of VHS tapes, and he used to have this huge camcorder, the kind that you had to put on your shoulder.
Yeah, we had one of those.
Record things.
Yeah.
And I bet all those tapes are just like dried out. Like you got to convert it somehow.
Yeah, I've asked my brother Matthew, like we have a bunch of like, VHS tapes. Like my mom recorded a whole bunch of shit off the TV. Like we have like Winter Olympics dating to like God knows how far back. And like there are some things on there. So, I mean, y'all all know that I'm a huge NSYNC fan. And so I have like NSYNC on
Wait, what?
NSYNC.
You are?
Shut up. So I have some like NSYNC on VHS, and I like asked my brother, I'm like, can you put this on DVD? Like, I don't want these to get like ruined or lost or, whatever. Like, I want to salvage these somehow. So he's supposed to like take all these like VHS tapes for me. And like when I was a figure skater, they'd have VHS tapes of all my competitions and stuff.
Hell yeah. On those big ass camcorders.
Those big ass camcorders.
All right. Episode 5.
Episode 5 was called
Indian Summer.
Indian Summer. So I guess Indian Summers mean that it's super duper hot.
Yes.
We have Indian Summers every year in Texas.
I cannot imagine there being a day so hot in New England in September that people are dripping sweat, and like a lot of people are taking off their clothes and like taking their shirts off and stuff. And there's a constant sheen on everyone in this episode. And I just can't, I just went to Maine in August, and I had to wear 2 layers of sweatshirts and a hat in August. And so I just can't imagine it ever getting that hot in New England.
Supposedly it was like
how do you know it's September?
Degrees at night.
Yeah, totes. Everyone's still sweating at night.
How do you know it's September? Because they're in school?
Well,
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and they said something about, because Indian Summer is also like when, isn't that when it gets hot, or when it gets cold and then it gets hot again?
Yeah, and it usually comes later in the season. So it's never during August. It's always like September, October. It's when you have an exceptionally long hot spell into fall. Oh, okay. Like it shouldn't be this warm.
Okay. Yeah.
And it would never be that warm in New England, in September.
In North Carolina, where it was filmed, it would be, but...
Sure.
So I guess this episode was supposed to be kind of like film noir style a little bit. I think at the beginning, Dawson's watching some film noir and he's having some discussion with Pacey about the merits of the film noir genre. And Dawson doesn't get it because he's an idiot. And oh my God, sorry. Siri.
You tell him to. Siri's talking?
Worst robot assistant ever. Anyways, at the beginning of this episode, Dawson and Pacey are having some discussion about the merits of the film noir genre, and Pacey loves it, and Dawson doesn't get it. That's because Dawson hates everything that's good. But Dawson, Dawson's like, I don't understand. Like, how does that detective not understand that woman is playing him? And Pacey's like, well, because not every man is like you and immune to the sexual advances of women. Just to say that Dawson is just lame and frigid and whatever else and weirdly holding on to his virginity. So then this whole episode plays out like a film noir a little bit, and he sees something suspicious happening next door at Jen's house.
And so
he a flashlight. Someone's rummaging around inside the empty, dark house with a flashlight.
And he calls the police. And he goes over to investigate himself because that's a smart thing to do.
Yeah, and he could definitely take on, if there was a legitimate burglar in there or someone who was armed, he definitely could roll over in his khakis and his striped sweater and take on an armed robber by himself before the police get there. Stupid jackass.
Such a dick.
Well, so the burglar is Eve. Eve is back.
And there's music. It's the window open. And there's some sexy time music now whenever she's on frame.
I wrote that down. I'm like, why are they playing this saxophone-y 90s pornographic music every time?
Noir.
That is so not film noir.
They really hit the nail on the head with film noir style.
They're trying to make it like a romantic detective story. And now Dawson's entrenched in this romantic detective story. But they started out that way and then they don't follow it through. They don't make it a theme episode. It's not like a fun episode where they play the role of some film noir shit. They just kind of allude to that in the beginning, and then it just turns back into a regular boring episode of Dawson's Creek.
And
I think they try to carry that through, but only with the Dawson Eve storyline. Anytime else it breaks to other characters, it's a normal episode. But when they're involved, it's
I noticed there's another stylistic choice that they make whenever Eve is on screen. They tilt the camera so that every shot is sideways, and they kind of have the lighting in a harsh way, so there are a lot of shadows, and then they have the sexy saxophone playing.
Yeah, like the scene at the end where she ends up in his room, and then she crawls onto his bed. It's this weird above angle for her, where it's just this is hurting my neck, trying to watch this scene right now. I was why is it not straight? It was
great job, guys.
It was
great job all around.
It was tripping me out. I didn't like it. I didn't like any of her part of this show for two reasons. One is I guess I didn't pick up on the camera angles any other way other than this is being filmed really weird, and then the music. I was this music sucks. This is really strange and awkward saxophone porn music.
My 4 years of film school really helped me out during this episode of Dawson's Creek. I don't know if I would have noticed that if it weren't for 4 years of film school. All of that tuition money.
So their whole thing is Eve tries to convince Dawson that she's back because of the PSATs, or she mentioned something about that in the beginning, and then like,
oh yes, I have the quote.
Okay.
Dawson calls the police, goes and finds her. She climbs out the window, and then he talks to the cop. So he gets back to his place, and the cop, who's Pacey's brother, is like, they have a whole thing going on. The cop is sort of suspicious of Dawson because he's like, you sure you're calling for no reason and you're good? And he flashes the flashlight around in Dawson's house for a minute. Dawson goes back up to his room, and now Eve's in the bedroom, and she's being her typical seductress self, and she's like shimmying around the room, and she's all hot and sticky because it's really hot there in September. And then she goes, fine, do whatever your big bleeding heart wants, Dawson, but here's a filthy 4-letter word for you, and don't you blush. PSAT, baby. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, they're still on this PSAT shit?
Well, Dawson didn't buy it, right?
No.
Yeah. And so he's really intrigued to like actually know what she's doing in town. And like at some point, Dawson runs into Pacey's brother. I think his name is Doug, right? Doug, the officer?
Yes. Officer Doug.
Officer Doug. And he's like, how would I like trail somebody? How would I like find out where someone is or like what they're doing here? And he gives him some lame idea to like stake her out at the laundromat. Like, if there's going to be one place that everybody go, it's the laundromat. She needs to clean clothes, right? And so Dawson and Pacey end up like sitting outside the laundromat, and then they leave. Pacey convinces Dawson to wait a
minute. Wait, I have to interject, because as soon as he said that and they sat outside of the laundromat for like 3 hours, I'm like, what if she's staying in a house or an apartment that has laundry? Or is there only one laundromat in all of Capeside?
Probably.
Just
and
one.
also, yeah, that's a very good point that you bring up, because one of the things that I thought was, isn't pretty much the only city where everyone goes to the laundromat New York? Like everywhere else, people just have washer and dryers, or at least a washer in their homes.
Well, that's not necessarily. Yes. You would assume that most homes in an area, neighborhood like Capeside, they would have washer and dryer in their home. But I mean, like, there are laundromats in like big cities. There are laundromats all over Dallas.
No, of course. But the only city where like everyone, regardless of your finances and how much money you make, you still have to go to the laundromat.
Yeah.
Right. But like other cities. Sorry, go ahead.
I would say in a town like Capeside, if there is only one laundromat, there's just the one laundromat for them to sit outside of, that I would say that most of the homes in that town have washer and dryers. If there's only a need for one laundromat.
Yeah.
If nobody in Capeside has a washer and dryer, then there's going to be, I'm going to say 5 laundromats.
Yeah.
It's just my guess. I don't know how big Capeside is. But yeah, of course, all small towns have laundromats too, because not everybody has a washer dryer. But whatever, it was a dumb idea. But you know what they did? But the laundromat happens to be downtown by the piers, which is, I don't know why what's his face didn't say that, because that's where everybody fucking ends up anyways.
Yeah.
Anytime you want to meet up with somebody or find somebody, you just go downtown to that one block area, and people always filter through there, it seems.
Yeah. Well,
so they did. They left the laundromat and they went to leave. She's running around in her jorts and her bikini top, eating ice cream.
It just looks like a bra. It doesn't even look like a baby top. And I'm like, why is she always walking around in a bra and shorts?
I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, she's not doing laundry, but she's running around town in her underwear.
Typical Eve. Typical Eve.
So then they trail her, which, like, I don't know, I can't remember what happens in between all that time, because I want to say that the next time we see them following her, it's nighttime, and they followed her to some random boat, and they see her, like, go onto this boat, and then, of course, there's, you know, if it's film noir, I don't know, but she's on the boat, and it's like a shadowy figure sexily dressing and undressing. and she gets into this
you just see her like silhouette through the like sheer curtains,
and she's
of,
like
changing
doing her sexy little shimmy to take her clothes off.
You see her absolute zero curves in a shadow of like a screen, and she's got like I'm sure she couldn't like show nip. She takes off her top or whatever, and it's just like flat. They probably taped all that shit down.
Probably. And then she walks off the boat, and she's wearing this like skimpy pink tube top dress thing, and just like walks off. We don't know where she's walking off to. And Pacey's like, I'm gonna go follow her. And Dawson's like, I'm just gonna keep an eye on this boat. And then he ends up going onto the boat, and he's like rummaging through all of her shit, and she finds a picture of a blonde lady who, like, when I caught a glimpse of that picture, I'm like, well, I could tell it wasn't her, but I was like, oh, that woman looks young enough, like maybe it's her sister or something.
I was curious as to why he found that so interesting. I don't know if I would have picked that up to take with me.
Yeah, I guess, that too, that's a good point. Like, I don't know if I would have found that picture intriguing enough to be like, ooh, this must be a deep, dark secret.
A clue.
And then
officer. The only thing of her is like personal thing, because everything else, like the boat was like a mess, just like clothes and shit.
Yeah,
it looks like
everywhere.
Every boyfriend I've ever had, what their apartment looks like. That's how Eve's situation was. Clothes everywhere, peek out containers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess it was
like totally trashed.
I guess it was meant to look
like, picture.
Yeah, it was meant to look like clearly she's just squatting there. She doesn't actually own or live on this boat.
So does that mean that every boyfriend I've ever had, they're just squatting in the places that they live? Maybe they don't actually live there.
I would think if you were squatting somewhere that you would want to keep your stuff in a bag so that you can make a quick getaway.
Right?
Instead of just leaving your shit all over the fucking place and then walking out. And the boat doesn't lock. The only thing that between the inside of the boat and the outside of the boat was like a screen door. She was just like, whatever, lights on, I don't care.
Yeah, she left the lights on.
Fucking Deputy Doug shows up, Pacey's brother, and is like...
Immediately points a gun at Dawson and says, you're under arrest!
Put your hands up.
I was like, damn.
Like a gun. And like, it's Dawson, and he's on a boat. Let's all relax, Doug.
Although Doug likes to pull out his gun and point it at harmless teenagers. He did that.
Well, we all know what Doug's gonna grow up to be.
He did that.
I was just gonna say that's not too far off from reality.
He did that to Pacey in season 1. So Pacey comes back and he's like running up the pier, and then Pacey does his usual thing where he makes fun of Doug for being or like implying that he's gay, which really gets
this whole thing was like.
It's over the top, and it's contrary to what we're supposed to be feeling now, because Jack has come out as gay and we're supposed to accept him, and he's like a football player, so we're like, oh look, gay guys can be just like normal people too. But then you flip it around and Pacey gives his brother a hard time like relentlessly for being gay, and we're like, what are you doing? We're not supposed to be doing that anymore. We established that with Jack, but now you're using gayness as a weapon against your brother. Mm-hmm. And like to an annoying degree where you're like, shut up. And even Doug is like, I'm not gay, and also just shut the fuck up about it. Like, just let it go. It's not, nobody thinks it's funny.
Yeah.
No one likes your little shtick that you do.
So let's hold off a little bit on what Eve is really doing in Capeside, because I kind of want to just leave that to the end.
Yes.
So. Going back a little bit, Joey's still working at this boat gas
station for boats.
The gas station for boats.
Which I learned later on is called a marina, but I like gas station for boats better.
I wish all the signs instead of like World's Fair Marina, it was called World's Fair Gas Station for Boats.
Oh my god. You got Victoria with that one.
World's Fair Gas Station.
Oh my gosh.
So Joey works at the gas station for boats, and her boss is a fucking prick, douchebag,
dude,
misogynistic a-hole.
He's an HR.
He's the fucking worst.
He's an HR nightmare. Like, so much sexual harassment going on. He takes his shirt off in front of her. He asks her out again. He sprays her down with a water hose.
Yeah.
Like, all this stuff. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, no, he violates every single... He got the sexual harassment handbook, and he's just running down the fucking list. He's like, I'm going to do this. Minutes. He's, like, using it as, like, a tip, like a guideline. It's like tips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's just, like, doing all the things.
And he took off his shirt going back to the Indian summer because, you know, it was 7 a.m. and he's like, oh, God, it's just so hot, even at 7 a.m. And I'm like, no, it's not. There's no way that it's so hot that you had to get nake all of a sudden at the gas station for boats. And then he starts spraying her with water like it's Girls Gone Wild or some shit.
Yeah. I was like, God, this guy is the worst. He's
the worst.
Terrible. Yeah, so at some point later in the show, Joey is again, I guess she just works there every day after school. She's working, she's in the middle of something, and then you see the bell ringing. I guess that's how you get the attendant's attention. And he's like kind of, you know, he's not wearing his gas station for boats uniform. He's like in a collared button down. And he's like,
if you were wearing a gas station for boats uniform, the text would take up like the whole skirt. It would say Rob, gas station for boats manager or attendee.
It had to be like Capeside gas station for boats.
Capeside gas station for boats assistant manager
it's
Rob.
Like a paragraph of text.
Well, so this time he's dressed up. He's in a nice collared shirt, and he asks Andi to fill up his boat because he's going out on a date.
Wait, that's not this episode yet.
It's not? I thought it was.
Oh wait, yeah, it is. My bad.
It is. I was on mute.
Right? Is it this episode?
It is.
Okay.
It is.
Okay.
No, the thing that you're thinking of happens in the next episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Joey's like, I can't believe you convinced some poor innocent girl to go on a date with you. And the date ends up being with Andi. So Rob and Andi are going on a date, and Andi's really excited about it. Their families know each other, apparently. And like when Joey is done filling up his boat, he hands her a tip, or like attempts to give her a tip, and she doesn't want to take it. And so
he puts it like in her boob pocket.
Yes. Again, just violates her again by putting the tip in her shirt pocket and like obviously
her breast pocket.
Her breast pocket, obviously grazing.
No, it's not over her pocket.
Obviously grazing her boob, her boob pocket.
I thought they were even called boob pockets on men's shirts. And that's where you put like your tissues and your pocket squares in your boob pocket.
In your boob pocket.
It's a breast pocket.
Yes, Cindy. It's the breast pocket.
He tries to give her, but Andi goes on. She's like, oh, you know, his family, our families know each other, and he's this, that, and the other, and it's good positioning for me to like go out with him or something.
Yeah.
She was excited about him because he was like an affluent
member of Capeside.
Right, Capeside High Society. That's such a thing. But even though he works at the gas station for boats.
And Joey was like trying to like not convince or just like warn Andi, like, watch out for this guy. He's bad news. He's not a good guy. And Andi's like, oh, stop, Joey. You're just jealous or something.
Yeah, she accused her of being like uptight.
Yeah.
She's like not everybody, not all women see the flirtations of men as being like a threat.
Right. Yes.
Like, oh, Andi, you're the worst.
So that happens, and then the other kind of third storyline in this episode, I guess it's just like Jack and Jen's friendship, like at the beginning of the episode, they are like stargazing in some random park, I guess, a park that's near the pier. And they're talking about relationships and finding relationships and being in love. And Jack's worried because he's like gay population of one in Capeside, and so he's never going to find anybody, at least here anyways. And like Jack tries to convince Jen, like, you know, that kid Henry on the football team, my quarterback, he really likes you, he has a crush on you. And Jen's like, yeah, but he's a child. So she tries to like nip that in the bud. And there's like a scene on the football field where the players are all sitting around and they're talking, and Henry is talking about his good luck charm, which is like a mouth guard that belonged to some famous football player whose name I recognize, but I know you guys probably didn't recognize his name.
Yeah, who was it?
The football player's name was Doug Flutie.
Why would this kid have his mouthpiece?
I don't know. Oh, well, the kid was at a game and like, I guess Doug Flutie like threw it into the crowd, which is kind of gross.
And weird. I don't think that athletes generally throw their mouthpieces or their like jock straps into the crowd.
Whip it off.
The women.
They'd have to
played in high school with Doug Flutie's jock strap.
You know, I can't actually remember how he said he got it in the episode. I don't remember. But bottom line is he
bought it on eBay.
He has Doug.
This is my good luck charm.
He has Doug Flutie's mouth guard. And then Jen like pops her head into their circle, and Henry gets all like he
Flustered.
just goes like stiff, and he like can't form words anymore. And then
Thank God I never had a boy look at me like that or do that around me. It's just so awkward and weird and uncomfortable.
Same. That never happened to me either.
Yeah, me neither.
I could have sworn like all.
Why do you guys seem so upset about it? Victoria in particular.
Yeah, none of us have had any like guys that were like so enamored with us that they couldn't function when we were around. We're just not captivating.
Definitely not. All throughout my adulthood as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had all of my boyfriends like chained to the couch in my apartment just to keep them around.
Ben, are you there? Can you hear us?
Ben, is she feeding you?
In the closet.
Ben, is she feeding you?
Scraps
is she giving you water? Ben, are you okay? So the other thing that happens with Jen in particular is there's some sort of like school auction going on, and they're auctioning off a kiss with the head cheerleader. So this is when Jen quits the team, right? Do I have this right?
Yeah, because she's unaware that there's a fundraiser happening, and then her other fellow cheerleaders who keep calling her Jenny, which she hates, are like, we're doing this, that, and the other, and she doesn't have any fucking clue what's happening, and she should because she's head cheerleader. And then she realizes, that the grand prize is like a kiss from her.
And that sends her feminist flag like flying hard, and she's like, I'm not going to sell myself.
Actually, it is kind of gross to have a fundraiser and you don't even know that the reward is you have to put your fucking mouth on some grody teenager's mouth, particularly one who had Brian Flutzy or whatever his name is, has been wearing his mouth.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't wear Doug Flutie's mouthpiece. He just has it as a good luck charm.
Oh, I thought he wore it.
No.
In his mouth.
No.
Oh, okay.
And then, like, one morning, the whole entire cheerleading squad, she's officially quit the squad, and everyone on the cheerleading squad shows up in her bedroom and is like, we really need you to follow through with this auction because it's for, like, the orphanage. So she initially refuses to do it, but then when she finds out it's for homeless kids, she's like, okay, fine. And it turns out that the winning person is Henry, the freshman quarterback. And
who, by the way, is played by Michael Pitt.
Yes. I
pretty
didn't know that,
famous.
but like, I knew that he'd done other stuff.
Did we talk about this last time? What else did he do? I think we did talk about this.
We
He was
did,
in
yeah.
Boardwalk Empire.
We talked about it a little bit. So she relents and she kisses Henry.
Oh, so after the cop, Doug or whatever, finds Dawson in that boat, he references octogenarian. He's like, "Oh, you must be a real octogenarian." And Dawson's like, "Come again?" And he's like, it's an elderly couple that own this boat.
Oh, because Dawson says something like that he knows the people who own this boat or something, or he's friends with them.
It's his friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is my first time ever hearing that word, though.
I've never heard it, but I would assume it would mean a couple in their 80s.
Well, octogenarian
It's a person who is 80 to 89 years old. I looked it up.
Yeah. So that must be part of the film noir that they were trying to pull off, and not very well in
Great.
this episode, because it sounds like an old-fashioned term. So like people in their 80s who own this boat, but only use it in summertime, and Eve is squatting.
Yeah. So like it must be the next day. Dawson is like trying to do a good deed and deliver an AC unit to Graham's house. And
wait.
Oh,
We're
sorry.
missing the movie scene.
What?
Yeah, wait. So wait. Pacey convinces Doug to like let them go. Whatever. They're just snooping around on a boat.
Yeah.
He leaves. Eve shows back up at Dawson's house, and she's like, "Give me my fucking picture back." And he's like, "Oh, you want this picture? Why is this picture so important? Who is this? Who's in this picture?" And so that's when Eve like potentially comes clean about her motives for being in town. Oh, and meanwhile, Dawson does all this snooping on Eve, and he goes to the records office at his school, and he's like, I need to know about this student that's here. Yes. And they're like, "We don't have any student by that name. She's not a student here," which doesn't surprise me. Then he goes to the strip club where she was working, to the manager, and he was like, "How old are you?" And he's like 16, and he's like, "Let me explain something to you. If you have a friend that you go to school with who you think works here, like, not possible," which is what I said like 2 episodes ago.
Definitely.
He was like, "Let me explain to you how age works. Like, there's no way that a teenager who's in high school also works at a strip club."
Well, no, we talked about this because you can be 18 and be a stripper. So maybe she was a senior. If she was a senior, an 18-year-old senior in high school, she could be a stripper.
I think we had some.
In your high school?
Yeah. It's called Dundalk.
But anyways.
I mean, this guy sends her on her way. So we're starting to see all the things that I was suspecting was that this girl is just posing all over town.
Yeah.
Posing as this and posing. And so she slips in his window, and she was like, "Give me my picture back." And he's like, "Why is this so important to you? Who is this person?"
Cue the sexy saxophone porn music all through this scene.
Yeah. And so I'm wondering now, because what she tells him, I'm questioning if it's the truth, because I feel like it's a callback to the beginning of the episode when Pacey, when they're talking about film noir, and Dawson's like, "How does this detective not understand that this woman in the film is like playing him?" And Pacey is like, "Well, not all men are like immune to the sexuality of women like you are." So she comes back, flirts with him. "Can't we just make out? Can't we whatever?" And then finally tells him what may or may not be the truth. We don't know.
But she she confesses to Dawson that the woman in the picture is her mother that she's looking for.
Mm-hmm. Right. And she could be anywhere on the eastern seaboard. Eve's been going all up and down the eastern seaboard, squatting, looking for her mom.
Yeah.
Who could be anywhere in the area.
Right.
Yes.
And so Dawson buys it, and he was like, "Oh, this actually makes me like kind of like feel for you, or like see you as a real human and not just like a predator," which she's a little bit of a predator.
She's definitely still a predator.
Yeah.
She tried to bone 5 minutes before they had that conversation.
Right. And she's definitely like I'm going to guess she's about 22 or 23, and Dawson is still fucking 16 or whatever, 17. Just trying to bang teenagers. And he's like, all right, that's cool. Here's your picture back. Good luck. And she's like, yeah, I didn't find what I was looking for in Capeside, so I'm moving on. And he was like, all right, good luck, kiddo. Good see you around. And she like leaves, and he like feels all like warm and fuzzy about it. I'm like, are you stupid?
Yes.
And then cut to like the next day, and he's trying to like load an air conditioner into Graham's like bedroom window.
Yeah.
And he sees a picture on her nightstand, and it's the same woman.
Right. With Graham's in the picture. It's Graham's and this blonde lady.
And he's like, Graham's? Who is that? And she's like, oh, that's our Lord Jesus, or our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, that a 5-year-old drew. And I was like, no, you dumb bitch. He's talking about the woman, not this drawing.
Yeah, there's like a children's drawing, and he's like, who's that? And he's like, no, I'm talking about the photograph of two people. The photograph on your nightstand. Who are the people in the photograph?
God, Grams. Fucking get with the program.
Fucking Grams. Anyways.
So Grams is like, well, I only have one daughter, Dawson.
And so Dawson's like, oh, so that's Jen's mom. And she's like, well, Dawson Leary, I only have one daughter. What the fuck was that about?
But yeah, I didn't understand. Yeah, I was like,
why pissed that he wasn't asking about the Jesus drawing.
Right. She's like, why are you asking about the daughter that I fucking gave birth to and not this drawing that a children did of Jesus? So now we are led to believe that Jen's mother...
That Eve and Jen are
Jen's
sisters.
mother birthed Eve, gave her up for adoption, and then later had Jen. And not much later either. A few years later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I guess is possible, because if Grams was your mother, and let's say you accidentally got pregnant when you were 18, you might have to go away to summer camp for 9 months.
Yeah.
And
yeah, and then wait until you're like 20 or 21 to get knocked up and carry through.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all we know.
That was like the big cliffhanger.
Yeah, was that Jen might have an illegitimate sister, and that illegitimate sister is a stripper who's trying to bang her ex-boyfriend.
And a squatter, yeah.
And squats in a boat and runs around town in a bra.
Sucking on.
Ooh, Grams is gonna
rocket pops.
Grams is gonna love. Grams is gonna love her, man. Grams is gonna love Eve.
Yeah, if she thought Jen was a disappointment, wait until she meets Eve.
Yeah.
Well, there was one more thing in this episode, though.
Yeah, there was.
Rob and Andi go to the movies for their date.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And Joey leaves work early. She closes up the gas station for boats.
Yes.
And runs to the movie theater and is creeping on them through the window. And she can see Rob's in the movie theater looking around like he's so nervous about something. I don't know why he was so paranoid.
Yeah.
And then Andi is supposedly getting snacks and going to the bathroom or whatever. Joey runs into Andi outside of the theater, and she's like, girl, let me tell you about Rob, the guy who manages the gas station for boats. And she gives Andi the breakdown. And then what does she say? She's like, everything's fine. You're just jealous, or maybe not jealous, but she's like, you're worrying for no reason, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So Andi goes back and sits next to Rob. And then sure enough, Joey shows up with bonbons and nachos with cheese.
Goobers.
And a huge big gulp of soda. Uh-huh. And she sits down right next to them and ruins their little date night.
Because Joey's like, Andi, she's like, you can be mad at me all you want, but I'm not going to leave you alone with this guy. And Andi's just like embarrassed, and she looks over at Rob and she's like, I'm sorry, I don't know what to do.
I don't know what I would do. I mean, I guess if I thought one of my friends was on a date with a predator, I might show up.
If it were, you got to think about this. If it were reality and this person was your boss and he's spraying you with the hose and he's walked in intentionally on you changing clothes. And he's like, this stuff is over the top. I mean, it would not fly today.
Yeah.
So I think I might show up too.
Yeah, and when you work at a gas station for boats, there is no HR to complain to.
Right.
He is the HR. So his shirt should actually say.
What should it say? Capeside?
Capeside, gas station for boats, human resources, and assistant manager, Rob.
It's got a lot of hats. Wears a lot of hats.
I guess the one other small thing that happens is Jack tries to innocently set Jen and Henry up on a date, and it backfires.
Like, Henry's too chicken shit to ask her out. So Jack's like, well, why don't you just show up at the, like, grassy knoll where Jen and I usually hang out and just be there with your blanket, and she's going to show up thinking that she's there to meet me, but it'll be really be you. It is a bait and switch.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like that either. If I had no interest in meeting up with a guy and then my friend did that to me, I'd be pissed.
Part of me feels like she overacts a little bit, but yeah, so he's there.
I had that initial knee-jerk reaction that when I was watching it, that she was overreacting a little bit, but
I kind of got it. I mean, she was talking about consent. She didn't want to go on a date with this kid.
Yeah.
She made that clear from the jump.
That's true.
And she had zero interest.
Yeah.
And she was going there to hang out with one of her best friends.
Yeah.
And now this kid is here. She's like, I'm supposed to hang out with this person all night that I didn't agree to this. I didn't sign up for this. Yeah. I don't want to do this.
She was like, next time you want to go on a date with me, don't forget, like a date is an act of consent. So next time, don't forget the part where you ask me first.
So that's all with episode 5, right? So the big cliffhanger in episode 5 is, are Eve and Jen sisters?
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. So now we move on to episode.
That was cool. Who just did that?
Well, Victoria did it first, and then I followed up.
Oh, that was cool.
Where are you?
I was reading my notes.
So now we're moving on to episode 6 called Secrets and Lies. What were the secrets and lies?
It's a good question.
I don't really remember any secrets and lies coming out.
No, I
Andi.
do.
Who?
Andi.
Andi? Oh.
Andi.
Is she the only secret and lie?
Yeah, and I didn't like this episode. I didn't like, after all of the build up with the Rob, the manager for the gas station for boats, and how he is an HR nightmare / sexual predator, they spinned it to be not his fault. And I didn't care for that at all. That's not where they should have taken this storyline. That's not the morality lesson that we should have learned, because in the end, the morality lesson that they dished out was like, it's her fault. So what happened here is Andi apparently went out with him again in the background, she calls up.
He brought her.
Jen.
He brought her to a party, like a party at his house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she calls up Jen, and she was like,
she calls up
I need help.
Joey.
She called up Joey, and she's like, I need help. Come here. And then I guess Andi knew that Joey was with Pacey.
Yeah, because they run a bed and breakfast now. And he told Andi that he was like helping get stuff ready at the bed and breakfast, because that's what Joey's doing now that she lost her job at the gas station for boats.
Well, they're using the money from the money from the insurance came through, so now they're adding an addition to their house and opening that part up as a B&B.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird, but I mean, it's not that weird because Airbnb is a thing now, but in 1999 that was weird. But okay.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and putting out croissants and donuts for all the crazy people who come through Capeside for a night.
Yeah, because it's nothing but crazies. All the out-of-towners.
Every single person. and inside. They're all nuts. Anyone who's a passerby is out of their mind.
So Andi calls up Joey.
Yes.
And is like, I need help. And she's like crying, hysterical. I need help. Come now. Knowing that Pacey is with her. Joey and Pacey show up at Rob's party at Rob's house. And she's out on the front lawn, like curled up in the fetal position, having a meltdown. And they're like, what happened? And she was like, oh, we just started kissing. And then he like, forced himself on me and nothing happened. I ran away, but he tried to make something happen.
Yeah.
And then she's like, I don't want to confront him. I don't want to do anything. Let's just leave.
I just want to go home.
And of course, and so of course Pacey like runs inside and finds Rob, like, punches him in the face.
Pow!
And I was like,
Rob's
that's so
like,
hot.
And Rob's like, I never touched her. I don't know what you're talking about. And then they leave. And so then Andi and Pacey are like alone on his like little boat or something. And he's like got a blanket around her. And like she's clearly trying to like seduce him into like getting back with her. Right?
By playing
yeah,
a victim
right.
playing a victim role and like meeting him in her life. That's where she drops the bomb. Like I'm still in love with you, and what are you feeling right now? Do you feel that too? And maybe we can make this work.
Yeah, and Pacey's really not into it. He's like, this is not the right time. You just had this horrific incident happen. Like, this is not the time and place for this. So he doesn't actually tell her no. He's just trying to convince her, like, you're not in the right frame of mind right now.
Yeah, he doesn't tell her no. He just punches out a dude in her honor and then kisses her for a while on the boat.
Yeah, I mean, he like reluctantly kisses Andi. Yeah.
So she thinks they're back together.
She thinks they're back together.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes. She's like super excited
too.
about it.
I would too if I was her.
Yeah. Well, because they make you believe that they like spent the night on that boat, on that ramshackle boat, and
I think they did, because he drops her off at the house the next morning.
Yeah, he drops her off at her house the next morning, and she's all excited and nervous and awkward and weird and neurotic, and when she gets out of the car and heads into her house, all you see is Pacey just like lean his head back and being like, oh my God, what did I just do? And like, no. He's like really regretting it. And then
she comes by later with like a picnic basket. And she's like, I love a basket. And she's got like a skipper's hat in there for him to wear on the boat.
And that whole scene was so awkward for me, because they talked in metaphors for way too long, and I was just like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
This is stupid conversation happening right now.
Like a boat, sometimes you get a boat and you can only fix it up so much, and it depends. And she's like, yeah, but then it can be better. And he's like, well, it depends on how bad the damage was.
So much damage, and you have a vision in your head and of what it's supposed to look like, and it might not ever look that way again. It's going to be different. And of course, and then Andi all of a sudden was like, all right, can we just stop talking in metaphors? Let's just say what we're really feeling.
And he's like, I hate the skipper's hat, all right? That's what I'm trying to tell you this whole time.
Yeah, so he I think I like even wrote some quotes down. I never write quotes down.
That's all my notes are, mostly.
She was like, well, she said something like, I cheated on you once and it was wrong and I wish it had never happened. And Pacey said something like, well, maybe that was just your heart telling you that I'm not the one. And what my heart is telling me right now is that you're not the one. I was like, ooh,
I wrote down that quote too. I was like, whoa, this is way harsh.
Way harsh, Ty. Way harsh. Yeah. I was like,
totally unnecessary.
Damn. I'm like, whoa. Yeah.
I mean, if you want to get rid of someone quick, though, I guess that's what you say.
Yes.
I mean, that'll do it. No, she'll never come back with like a new skipper's hat or a boat hat for him after that.
And then like in between, like some time before that, like Andi and Joey have like a conversation, and I guess is this after Pacey has like broken up with her finally by saying that my heart is telling me you're not the one anymore. She like runs to Joey and was like, you told Pacey, or like she was trying to blame Joey for telling Pacey something. I didn't remember what happened 5 seconds earlier, or
Rob came by Joey's house.
No, because Joey and Andi also had a conversation. They like got into a little friend fight because Andi was like, you ruined things between me and Pacey. Like, you told Pacey something. And Joey was like, she's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I haven't seen Pacey like all day.
Well, that was after Rob did come by Joey's place, and he was like, Joey, I didn't do it. You got to believe me. I didn't do anything. And Joey, like, the thought crossed her mind that maybe Andi lied about everything. Shortly after is when Pacey broke up, quote unquote, with Andi. And then Andi came to Joey's. Joey's getting a lot of action at the B&B. Then, Andi came by again and was like, you told Pacey. And Joey was like,
oh, okay.
No, I mean, Rob came by here earlier today, and the thought did cross my mind that maybe you were lying, but I would never believe that. And you're a good person, and you wouldn't do anything, manipulative like that.
Yeah. A lot of stuff did happen in this last episode that we're talking about. So I guess the other big storyline in this episode is Jennifer is still homecoming queen, and she is like bombarded by the Capeside homecoming queens of the past. It was almost like a weird sorority or something. Like, they show her a secret handshake, and she's like, what the fuck is going on? And she has all these responsibilities, like that she has to throw some homecoming queen gala or whatever. And she meets like an older lady who is like she's in charge of it every year. And Jen has her own ideas about how this gala is going to go down. Oh, and Gail's back in town because Gail wouldn't dare miss the homecoming gala.
Oh, yeah, because
Gail's back in town. Gail's back in town. Gail's back. Gail is back.
What is that?
The boys are back in town.
Oh.
But Gail's back in town.
I'm shaking my head.
I was like,
Gail was like a homecoming queen at some point, and there was like a secret society of homecoming queens, which is weird because I would think that prom queen would be more of a thing, but apparently there's this whole like
this sorority of homecoming queens.
Yeah, of homecoming queens, and there's this whole gala that's held when you're pronounced to be the homecoming queen.
I guess when you think about it, homecoming, I mean, the whole idea of homecoming is for alumni to come back for this weekend of events that involves a football game and a dance and whatever. So for like the high schools that take homecoming really seriously, like my high school did, yes, you would see like that was like the biggest game of the year because alumni were just all over the place. But
I never saw anyone that went to my high school in previous years. And I wrote down, the whole thing made me imagine what my high schools, they called it the HQ, homecoming queens.
Yes, the HQ.
My HQs over the years, if they all showed up, we'd have the biggest ragtag team of douchebags that you've ever seen. And all of them would have had, I'm sure they've had like 15 children by now. And not all of them. I'm being an asshole. But I just can't imagine this like weird HQ posse that would have happened at my high school.
I mean, yeah. I mean, this whole idea of a homecoming queen sorority society of alumni like is so weird. I mean, that was not a thing in my high school, but the idea of alumni coming back for homecoming definitely was a thing, but it wasn't anything like this, like with the secret handshake and the gala that's thrown by the alumni. Like that's not a thing.
Yeah.
So that was like the weird part for me. But so all these like homecoming queens of the past, like, assault Jennifer in the hallways of Capeside. And she's like, God, I didn't sign up for any of this. Like, I didn't ask for any of this. I don't want to do any of this. And she meets, like, the old lady in town who is, like, in charge of the gala. And as the newly crowned queen, she is the, you know, current student who is in charge of helping her put this together. And this woman, I guess, like...
Miss Freckling.
Oh, I tried so many times to fucking understand what last name they were saying. Constance.
I had to put it on closed caption.
Oh. Constance.
Miss Freckling, MISS, because she's never been married before.
She's never been married, right? Yeah. So this is like.
Don't get it twisted.
This is like her like the two major events she does in the year. So she takes this very seriously. And so Jen shows up at her house, and this old lady lives in a very nice, rich, old, and filled with antiques house. And Jen is like, this is so not me.
But not only that, Miss Freckling was in there creating a dress for Jen to wear. Like,
yes.
Yeah. And I was like, God damn, Miss Freckling, like, get a life, dude. You do this every year, and you sew a new garment every year for a high schooler for one night. Like, did she take Jen's measurement? Oh, I guess she would have taken Jen's measurement. She's like a seamstress over here for a night.
Yeah.
Dude, find something else. You have this big property in Capeside. I don't know. So but she does have another thing.
Was she making a dress for Jen, or was she making a dress for herself? I think she was making a dress for herself.
I thought she was making a dress for Jen.
Yeah, I kind of...
And Jen was like, this is not my...
dress later.
Huh?
I don't know. I thought she was wearing the dress later.
No.
Because it was like...
Now I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know now.
So it was like a purple satin, and she was I should like soften the neckline and raise the hem. And then you see her later, and she's wearing like an off-the-shoulder purple satin dress.
Oh. Well, maybe it was supposed... Yeah, I don't know. I really thought that was supposed to be for the HQ.
Yeah, I assumed that she was making a dress for Jen. Like, this is what she does. She makes a dress for the newest crowned HQ. But
I don't know. Yeah, the whole thing was weird to me. I was like, what is this? Because I thought the homecoming queen was like crowned at the homecoming dance. And I didn't realize that like it was ever announced before, and that there was ever any festivities surrounding homecoming queen outside of the homecoming dance. But there was no homecoming dance. There was like this.
Yeah, we never saw the
society party.
Right, we never actually saw the high school homecoming dance, and we never actually saw the homecoming game either, because in my high school the queen was crowned at the game actually.
Oh.
At halftime. And then...
I don't know when mine was crowned.
This is me making a shrug emoji. Yeah, this is me making a shrug emoji. I have no fucking clue.
I mean, for all of our 5 listeners out there, I come from the South. I come from Texas. So, you know, high school football, homecoming, it's all a huge fucking deal. Like, especially at my high school, it's a little insane and out of control, like what we do for homecoming. But just remembering myself as a teenager in high school, the homecoming game is where the homecoming queen and her court are announced, and they're paraded on fancy convertibles into the football fields, and they're crowned, and there's a ceremony. And then you just have the regular old dance, you know, the next night or later on that. I think it was the next night for us. But she's officially, the king and queen are officially crowned at the game at my school.
I mean, that sounds right. I just go. That sounds right. I never participated in any of that stuff, so what do I know?
I know.
Listen, darling, I'm just telling you what happened at my school.
I'm the most like basic bitch out of all of us on this podcast. Like I was definitely all into the high school tradition and ceremony and all that stuff. I participated in all of it. So, but we never saw an actual homecoming game, or we never saw the kids' high school dance, just this like weird gala.
But I'm going to tell you this much. I would have rather have been at that gala than any high school dance party, hands down.
Yeah. So Jen kind of like, you know, relents to this old lady. Like, let's let her keep her traditions as far as like music.
But the reason why is because it turns out there's a boy working on the roof of Miss Freckling's.
Yeah.
And he's making a lot of noise. And then it turns out that boy, and he was getting chased around by bees, it's Henry.
Right. Who she calls Hank.
She does?
Yeah, Miss Freckling calls him Hank.
Well, Hank is short for Henry.
Right, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I was like, damn, Miss Freckling's so stupid. Yeah, so Hank, lives next door, but he comes over to Miss Freckling's all the time to help out and do like odd jobs and help out in her orchid.
Her greenhouse, yeah.
Her orchid greenhouse. So that's the only other thing that she has to look forward to. Her 2 events for the year is the HQ Gala and the the WOC. And I thought that meant Women of Color Convention. And I was like, why is Miss Freckling going to that? No, it's the
World Orchid Conference.
Yes.
In Miami. Of all places. Yeah. So those are the 2 things that Miss Freckling does all year. Like, that's all she does. Every year it's those 2 things, and that's it. That's all she has going on in her life. So Henry kind of convinces Jen, like, come on, give this lady what she wants. This is really important to her. And Jen's like, okay, all right. And she then, like, so they're all back in her house, and Jen's like, okay, all right, well, do it your way. But as far as like a date or an escort, Hank here is going to be my date. Which I didn't really understand, because I was like, did she think that she was going to be set up, like she was going to be assigned an escort or something? Like, I don't know why she like had to mark her territory on Henry.
I thought maybe she was softening up with that too. Or giving him a chance.
I thought the scene was like a little ironic, because she gives Henry a hard time for showing up at the park and not asking consent to go on a date with her. And then all of a sudden she's like, oh, well, Henry doesn't know it yet, but he's my escort to the dance.
And she's like,
and then she puts,
no.
Good point. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I didn't think about it like that, but I was like, what if Henry has some other like lame-o that he's agreed to go to the dance with just cause? Now he's gonna have to like blow off this other person.
You're right, Victoria.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no, she was all about all these 3 episodes have all been like contrary. Like, whatever morality lesson we're supposed to learn, they like negate it later with like a different scene, which like really pisses me off. Like the whole thing about Jack being gay, and then Pacey gives his brother a hard time about being gay, but he is or isn't, it doesn't matter, but he's just going to use it as a weapon. And then she, gives Henry a hard time about not asking consent for a date, and then is like, hey, guess what? You're my date, like it or not.
What I also didn't like about that scene is that she like touches him. She like wraps his arm around her and then puts her hand on his knee. I'm like, whoa, lady. I was like, whoa, lady. Like, Jen, like, you got so mad, and you've been like brushing this kid off who you know has a major crush on you, and you're like instantly leading him on by touching him that way. I mean, like, it's like teenage boys getting touched on the knee. That kid probably got a boner real fast.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. He probably came in the orchid garden. Just walking through.
But I did not catch on to the irony of Jen, of that whole thing there. Good job, Victoria.
Yeah.
You smart. So Gail, we just touched on her a little bit. So Gail's back in town because she wouldn't dare miss.
Gail's back in town. Gail's back in town. Gail is back. Gail is back.
she like begs Dawson to take her because she needs an escort right in front of Mitch, and Mitch is like, okay, message received, like,
and walked away.
Like walked away, like, all
I
right.
thought that was kind of rude.
Yeah, I did too. And Dawson's like, I don't want to go to this thing. Why don't you take Dad? Like, hello.
Dawson's like, I don't want to go with my mom. Are you crazy?
But he ends up going with her, and I guess we're getting a small hint that Gail might come back or whatever, because she was fired. She was actually fired from her job because she looks too old.
But Dawson didn't know this. He was just with his mom at this thing, and a local couple who, they're with the local news in Capeside, I think. They walk up to Dawson and Gail, and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe what they did to you in Philly. Firing someone for not looking young enough. I could never imagine, but you always have a place here to come back. And that's when Dawson realizes that she's back because...
Or that she might be coming back. I mean, they didn't actually say it in the episode, but...
They hinted at it. And then Dawson turns to his mom. I wrote this down as a quote because I found it appalling. Once he puts the pieces together and realizes that mom is fired, he goes, Mom? And it's like a close-up right on his face. Is there something you want to tell me? It's like, bitch, why are you talking to her like she's your daughter? Is there something that you might have to tell me? She doesn't have to tell you shit. She's an adult and she lost her job. She doesn't owe it to you to like come clean like she's done something wrong. I hate Dawson so much. Mom, is there something that you feel like you need to tell me? You're my 16-year-old son.
There.
No.
That's all you need to know. So at this gala, I guess the part of this whole gala that Jen kind of, flipped the script on was that for the entertainment, Mrs. Freckling allowed Jen to be in charge of the entertainment, and the entertainment was four drag queens, because this is the H Queen Gala. So she brought some queens in to do some entertainment.
And when they were walking in, this is how they made their grand entrance. One was saying something like, "Ooh, girl, it's hotter than a French prostitute in here." And I was like, I looked at I think I wasn't looking at the TV screen at that particular moment, but I heard that and I was like, are they getting drag queens? And sure as shit, in come some drag queens to make Miss Freckling uncomfortable. And my main takeaway, though, was, damn, we've really come a long way with drag. I mean, like, the costumes are so much more elaborate and the makeup is so much better now.
And, like, those queens didn't do a good job covering up their 5 o'clock shadows on some of them. Like, one of them, you could still see a beard.
Well, sometimes that's a thing. Oh. I've seen that before.
All right.
But the contouring wasn't there. It looked like grade D and Vogue,
And
like they were going for the En Vogue vibe, but didn't quite. They need to bump it up by like 10.
Yeah. So, okay, guys, I don't know if it's because I'm on my period or whatever, but I actually teared up a little bit in this episode.
Okay, I think it's definitely because you were on your period.
Yeah, I was like, wait, which part?
When the drag queens came out, or was it when Andi was cooking spaghetti in the kitchen, or...
Yeah, like Andi was cooking spaghetti and like Joey called her out for lying about the whole sexual assault to get Pacey back.
All right, hold on. Let's keep talking about the HQ Gala, because there's a scene where Jen and Henry are in the greenhouse, and Henry is like finally able to form complete sentences around Jen, and he's pouring out his heart, and Jen's like, your heart is gonna swell and break 100 times, by the time you're my age. She's like 2 years older than him, and she is like, And then at one point,
I know the part, and now I think I know the scene that you teared up at, and that scene is one where I said, I said Henry's line before he said it. Like, I finished his line, and then I laughed alone in my apartment.
He's like, remember when you said about your heart breaking 100 times? Well, there goes number 1. And then he walks away because Jen broke his heart.
And you were like holding Murphy and munching on some popcorn and tearing up, and I'm over here like laughing alone. Is that the scene?
Yes. I was like, oh, he's so sad. Jen,
sad. I mean,
you fucking tease. Like, you're a bitch, Jen. Like, you played with this kid's heart.
We've already established that Jen is a bitch.
I kind of like Jen.
I know you do, but she's a cock tease all the way, 100%. The stuff that she did to Dawson, and I don't fucking like Dawson either, but she did the same fucking thing to him.
Yeah.
Like, Jen, get your shit together.
Well, she's trying, Jen. And that's why she told Henry Hank, she was like, I can't remember how she phrased it, but she's like, unless be with someone. And
yeah, she's like, until I can look at myself in the mirror and not feel these terrible things that I see when I see myself in the mirror, she's like, I'm not going to be ready for anybody, let alone you. So she's not like rejecting him for another guy or something, but she's just outright rejecting him and saying like, I just don't feel the same way. And I was like,
after bringing him to the, and we're like, my God, Henry.
But Jen has been in town for like a year and a half, and she's like rejected
everybody.
Like every guy that everybody. She's just rejecting everybody left and right.
Yeah. Hey, she can't help if she ain't interested.
I guess, but
she's also been through a lot. She's mourning the loss of her friend who fell off the pier and drowned.
That's Abby.
Listen. Abby, yeah. She's been through a lot. And that one guy who was super religious, who she was like Ty, she was kind of into, and then he came out saying that he's
like a Trump supporter, yeah.
And 2020, he was like
essentially like modern dating. Like you meet somebody on Tinder and then they say they're a Trump supporter, and you're like, oh no.
Well, first they like test the waters by taking you to a church group,
a Bible
party,
study,
and you're like, what is this? I thought you meant like a party, and then they're like
party.
Yeah, but then, you give them a chance. You're like, oh, it's okay if they're like religious or spiritual. Maybe they're still cool. Then they bring out the MAGA hats. And you're like, oh, right.
No, this is not cool.
This is not going to work.
And also the church party was not cool. That was never cool.
No, it was so lame. Where was some tequila, man? If it's like a Bible study group party with some tequila, I could be down for that.
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
Some of those Bible studies get a little racy.
So what else happened here, guys? Anything else? I feel like the homecoming gala like really took over this episode.
Yeah. I feel like it was all about that.
Did we even see Jack in this episode? I feel like no.
I thought Jack met up with Jen at the end of this episode in their spot.
Oh, okay, maybe. Yeah, I just remember I wrote down the last thing on my notes is that at the end of this episode there's a montage of everyone like doing their own thing. So like Pacey is like sanding his boat, and like Joey and Andi are on the porch, and Joey's consoling Andi, and like Henry's walking on the pier because he just got his heart broken. And yeah, I guess Jen and Jack met up at their spot.
Or no, that's false. Because Jen ended up spending the whole night with Miss Freckling.
Oh, right.
Partying at the gala with the drag queens. Miss Freckling all of a sudden did a 180, and she's like a changed woman now, and she's open to like fun, I guess.
She's best friends with those drag queens now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they had to talk about it. They were having a heart-to-heart.
Well, I
She's
think
like,
the heart-to-heart was alluding to, like, Jen not being such a tease or, like, leading Henry on. But then
they did have another heart-to-heart at the end at the table with the drag queens. They were talking about, Miss Frecklin was like, you didn't ruin this too badly. And I think I even learned something, or clearly this is all very memorable and it definitely stuck with me.
I was going to say, I don't remember that part.
But they hung out together partying.
Right. But so, like, did we see Jack in this episode? I feel like no. Or, like, he was super duper minor. I don't remember seeing Jack
He
at
was
all.
definitely super duper minor.
Oh my God, stop it. You're such a bitch.
This episode was entirely about Jen and her homecoming situation and Henry.
Yeah.
And like a little bit about Andi and gas station Rob.
And a little bit about Gail losing her job or getting fired.
Yeah, I mean, I remember barely even seeing like Dawson in this episode and being like, wow, an episode of Dawson's Creek without fucking Dawson in it. Thank God.
True. So I think that's it. To me, in general, all three of these episodes, I mean, to me, they were all a little boring. Yeah, those first 3 episodes were real, like, mind fuck. And then like a total turnaround to, like,
the only redeeming plot line in this is that Jen might have an illegitimate sister that is Eve.
Yeah, they have to come back on that one, right?
And I'm sure that they're going to circle back on that later. But the rest of it was just filler and bullshit.
I liked the drag queens. I thought that was pretty cool.
The drag queens were cool. But Jen's acts of rebellion really just get under my skin. I'm like, and it might be because her acts of rebellion are 20 years old. So I'm like, that's just so plain, but it's 20 years old. So she's revolutionary. The other things that bothered me, I've already said, which was like, they try to draw some morality line and then they just like double back on it. And it bugs me. I'm like, if we're going to learn a lesson here, let's learn a lesson. Let's not learn the lesson and then, no, learn the lesson. No, never mind. Just kidding.
Yeah.
It's very true.
And I think we're in a day and age now when there's so many morality lessons to be learned. I didn't learn shit from this.
Good job, Dawson's Creek.
But the drag queens, though.
Okay, but the drag queens, they were fine.
I am slightly intrigued by the Eve situation, so I guess that's something to look forward to.
That was the only intriguing thing in these 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Like, what is Eve's fucking deal?
I was honestly really annoyed to see her again because I was like, God, what is this girl doing back already?
As soon as I heard the saxophone music and she popped up, opened that window, I was like, son of a bitch. I thought we were done with her.
Yeah, I thought we were too. As soon as I saw her, I was like, what?
They were like gaslighting us. Making us think that we're crazy for having these thoughts.
Yeah. But we weren't. We're validated. Our thoughts were correct. She doesn't belong. There's no way that a stripper also goes to high school with Dawson and wants to sleep with Dawson without being some kind of predator. And now she's got this other agenda, and she might be Jen's sister. Totally makes sense. Now it makes sense. Now I get it.
Now all the puzzle pieces are falling into place.
It all fell into place. It totally makes sense. I want to see where that goes now. Now I want to see where that goes.
Yeah.
The rest
and
of
that's why I started watching the next episode, even though I wasn't supposed to. Because I was curious to see if they were going to address this, because they did, and then a whole episode went by, and there were drag queens and orchids and fun. And I was like, are we going to circle back to the big reveal?
So yeah, so that right now, this is the most interesting thing going on in Dawson's Creek is like, how is Eve actually going to fit into all of this? Is she actually Jen's illegitimate half-sister?
I feel like she's lying about that too.
I mean, they've done a good job of like making her very like non-believable to any.
And elusive and crazy.
And like weird and
now we know she likes Rocket Pops.
Rocket Pops?
Yeah, that's what she was sucking on the pier when she was wearing a bra and shorts.
Popsicles? Those are Rocket Pops.
Sometimes people call, when male dogs, when their pink thing comes out, sometimes people call those Rocket Pops also.
Never heard that either.
Really?
Lipstick.
I just call it lipstick.
Well, I've heard lipstick and Rocket Pops. And then when I was growing up, I just called it pink thing. I was like, oh, this pink thing's out. Ugh.
I can't believe this is how we're going to end the episode.
Yeah, talking about doggy dong.
What other way to end it?
And on that note, this has been
signing off.
Tell all
this your male dogs to put away their pink things, their lipstick,
Rocket Pops.
their Rocket Pops.
All right. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week for season 3, episodes 7, 8, and 9. I'm Melissa.
I'm Victoria.
I'm Cindy.
Good job, Cindy.
Thanks.
Okay. On the count of 3, say bye. 1, 2, 3. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.